Yeah, okay. All right, you ready? Who loves it? It's okay. You're a very attractive couple. In fact, I love it. So listen, pay attention. So, who rides the horse? You or the kids or your wife? You do. You love horses? You got 5 seconds to choose. Only one can stay. Who goes? The wife or the horse? 5, 4, the wife. Or the left story. Look at me when you're lying. Who goes? The wife? Your wife has to be here, because you never say that if you were having a drink. By the way, my wife owns horses. I don't get horses. I try not to invest in things that are eating while I'm sleeping. I didn't hear an amen from you. Now, by the way, does my opinion count? No. No. I love my wife. And you want to keep a kid out of trouble? These guys will tell you. Put a kid in a barn with a shovel and have them shovel in muck, right or wrong. Oh yeah. And see, and have the child there. We have to put a horse down. And you see the value of life. Am I right or wrong? And my wife, God bless her, that's what she did with our son. You did something good with your miserable life as a guy when your wife puts a child in a horse and does lead line, which I had no idea what that was. You see, these are not discretionary expenses. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. Shifting income to pay for care has a direct impact on the client's ability to keep financial commitments. I'm sorry, this is a life and DI sale. You've had to reallocate cash flow. Now, you're double counting the income, which creates all sorts of problems. I make a lot of, my first wife and I, we make contributions, 529 folks for the 4 grandchildren. By the way, I do it, but it's always with my former spouse. Okay? We make these contributions. How dare you tell me I can't do that if something happens to me? Your job is to tell me I can. As a financial advisor, it undermines your commitment to execute carefully thought-out plans and generate income for specific purposes. That undermines your promise to the client. And for those of you who are on the insurance end of it, as an insurance professional, your very premise for being in business, which is to protect families at all stages of life, is undermined. There are some blue chips that believe that they only protect families until they retire. And then they sell annuities. What do you want from me? No, commitments never end. When I was younger, and really crazy, I thought the kids would actually leave the house. I thought they'd be grown up and they'd be out of the house. Little did I know. Now, it turned out, after fits and starts, they did leave the house. But here's what I learned. Here's what I learned. That the kids may leave the house, they never leave your life. And for decent people, particularly guys, they love the financial commitments because so much of what he does is wrapped up in his business and what he can do for others. We'll get to that in a second. But take a look at what happens if there's no proactive conversation. Okay, for those of you who said the client can self-insure $1, $2, $3 million, news bulletin, absolutely, they'll never run out of money, which is exactly what they want to hear. They're not going to run out of money. But a couple of thoughts. Am I talking crazy with that camera?
Nope.
Sure.
He's a professional.
You're a professional. You ready? Don't call it assets when you're dealing with successful people. Refer to it as capital. See, because successful people know what capital is. This is a capital asset. There's one purpose, to generate income. The sand stopped being a capital asset. You see how they imploded that sucker? Welcome to the world we live in. Now watch what happens when you go into the capital to pay for care. You have unnecessary taxes. It's very disruptive to a plan to minimize, or by the way, eliminate capital gains tax if you have the appreciated asset in your estate of debt. Free step up. That's gone because you got to liquidate it. And while you're liquidating, you got to hope the market's not down, because now you turn an unnaturalized or unrealized loss into a realized loss. You also have the issue of liquidity. Sure, they're worth $5 million. She's worth, he's worth. Doesn't really matter. But how much of that is liquid? The 95% of my net worth before I sold my companies, I was liquid, which is why I got on a whole life. And watch this one. Every capital dollar used for care is one less dollar to generate income. And that's what happens if care is needed, which it won't. Now we're going to shift and show you how you take these consequences and put them into a statement that compels the client to take action. And there are only two actions he can take. He can say, I don't care, which they say when they tell you, let her remarry. Did you hear that one? She's attractive, she'll find someone. That's a lifestyle. Not a sale. This guy's genetically defective. Or I don't want that to happen. And those are the people I want to work with who happen to be your clients. So here we go. Let's start with a practical application of what happens if we don't talk about the subject. Michael and Laura are 75 years of age. They accumulate $2 million in qualified and cash equivalents. The income portfolio generates $125,000 a year. Social Security generates $40,000 to $50,000. Depends what interest. It doesn't do that. These are the commitments. Helping a child not make the best decision. Yes or no? Financial advisors. Yes or no? Over here. Kids making bad decisions.
All the time.
Help pay for a grandchildren's education. Educational vacations, wow, that's a huge business. Tied into church or other, tied in, if you don't, tied in is taking a percentage, 10% of your gross and getting into a church or making a capital contribution, whatever it might be. That's who we are. You see, as you get older, that defines your character. To which much is given, much is expected. Michael's diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Now, this is not for the FAs here. This is for all the insurance professionals. Because a lot of credit and make yourself useful when you ask for this. The question is, what's been allocated from the $2 million portfolio to pay for this guy's care for the next 6 to 8 years? What's been allocated from it? Nothing, because it's allocated to generate income. Fair statement? And the two people they now see, you looking for insurance, and then me to protect the assets. When you allocate nothing to pay for care, you've allocated all of it. And that's what I see. And that's what you might be going through because it was not going to happen. And you know what? Realize it never happened. Mom, dad, male, female. It never happened to him. It happened to them. See, the innocence. It didn't happen to him. It happened to them. The ironic part about this is that your father's the least of the concern. He'll get 3 squares. He'll be safe. He'll be taken to the hospital for not doing his meds on a right, whatever that is. It's his family suffers. All right, let's change the intent of the conversation. About a half hour, 40 minutes, okay?
Yep.
Okay with that? Continue. So let's take a look at this. Let's start with what you're likely doing, which is what you were taught by the industry for 30 years, if you were selling the product at all. So these are traditional selling ideas and how it conflicts with your targeted market. I call it 3 steps to an argument. So step 1, you use statistics to hammer the guy into submission. It's risk-based, backed by statistics. All the carriers give you the statistics, 30% here, 45%, 62%, 18%. The industry, the nation is an aging population, and the whole thing's going to hell in a handbasket, and you need long-term thing for the insurance for the nursing homes, okay? So you back with lots of statistics, and you basically take a mallet, and you smack him over the head with it. And then, once he understands what the risk is, you lay out what's going to happen to him and his family, including loss of independence, being a burden to your family is a big one. Oh, that's a biggie. You wouldn't want to be a burden to your family, would you? There you go. Excuse me 1 second here. Excuse me. He said, I don't care, and I'm thinking, what a love story. But these are the setup questions. They don't even say, would you? Would you? Huh? Would you? You want to be, this kind of horse stuff. I'm sorry, I don't want to swear. Horse manure. And they think this works. And of course, you're going to lose your assets. Paying for care, you won't be able to pass on something. Have you tried to sell the product at all? Have you tried to sell long-term care insurance? Yeah, and it was kind of what I was looking for as opposed to proactive, respectfully. Yeah, but respectfully, I'm not upset with you. This is pretty much what you would want because it makes perfect sense. It's a risk product-based, client-centric, watch this, product-driven sale. How many times have you said, if you hold long-term care insurance, the whole world looks sunnier? You won't be a burden to your family. You can protect your assets. You can choose where and how you choose to live. You can stay at home, or you can get into a good nursing home. Not one that takes Medicaid, which is also BS. Don't you ever, 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 ever again call Medicaid welfare and tell a client that they won't get to a good nursing home. That's absolutely not true. You want to know how many private nursing homes are around the country? I mean, strictly private. That's because people run out of money. If it's a crappy home, it's a crappy home. And you should never be talking about statistics anyway. Because if you understand the business, you know that almost all the damages take place at home. So, risk-based selling is founded on the deeply flawed assumption that risk motivates clients to take action in the form of buying a product to cover perceived needs. This is an offshoot of needs-based selling, which I'm not a big fan of, not that you asked me. You just go find, you dig the need for insurance based on expenses. I'm not a huge fan of that, because you presuppose that he thinks he's going to die. You presuppose that he thinks you'll be motivated by statistics. He's motivated, but it's to get rid of you. Yeah, that's a great, let me explain, and this gentleman will tell you. The damages in an extended care setting almost always take place at home. Because you have informal people trying to scramble to take care of someone who's no longer safe. Every motion has to be supervised. The person is left to their own devices to take the 15 medications, 2 for the illness, 13 to offset the awful side effects, which they never take on a regular basis. You know, the number one admission to hospitals are older people screwing up their medication. Yeah. Does it sound familiar with any of you here? Going through this? Right. So here's the thing. The damages that are done is keeping them at home. Now you might say, why do you keep doing it? Why not just make a placement? Because here's something you should know, all of you. For many families, making a placement breaks your heart. And you talk to families who made the placement, they'll tell you to a person, whatever I do is wrong. If I don't put them in, I'm going in. If I put them in, I can't live with the guilt. Imagine we have enough information about this that you can engage in this conversation. And the beautiful part about it, sir, is to say, are you serious? And you start to say, yeah, I'm serious because I understand the subject. I don't know the product. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, my mother-in-law dumped all her pills out on the table and they all were like.
You know, I saw my father after his first stroke, and I had a cold chill running up my spine because I didn't see him as a person who was weak and frail and had a stroke. I saw him as a 28, 35-year-old guy raising a kid, right or wrong. I see all these pictures, they run through your head. By the way, just so you all understand, if I run over a couple minutes, I hope you appreciate it. Let me tell you something. If you go to visit or you spend time with a parent who has dementia in particular, for those of you who think that the child's actually there, they're not there. They're 25 years earlier, they're 30 years earlier, because it's too painful to look at this person. That's the nature of this business. You know what you say to yourself, what happened, right or wrong? What happened? How did it go so fast? And here's this person now, who's so dependent on you. And you want to mix into that thing? Oh, mix in the following. He doesn't like it. And he's not talking to his sister because of it. That's the subject. And you think this is going to work using risk to motivate guys? Let me show you why it doesn't work. Here we go. When you change the way you see things, the things you see will change. If you continue to see this as a risk-based sale and sell a product, nothing's going to happen. But if you change your perception, if you change your thought process, then it's a whole different way of looking at it. And that's what I want to spend a few minutes on. So here we go. If you want to understand why a perfectly healthy guy did this, who tells you he understands what would happen to his family if he died during working years, how many times have you said it to you? I get it. I understand what you do. Stop already. I get what happened. I know life insurance. Stop it! If I have a stroke, I get it. They get it. But do they take action and buy products? Somebody answer me. Not really. Life insurance, if she's not paying, just that one to buy. And if he does buy it, it's almost always term and nowhere close to what he needs. So the question is, why does the guy who tells you he loves his family not buy these products? Now, the traditional thought process of the industry is, he doesn't get it. He thinks banana is a river in Egypt. Ha ha ha, isn't that funny? But you know something? He's not the problem. The pitch is the problem. You've been taught incorrectly, and that's why I'm here. And if this didn't work, One America would spend 2 cents on me. So I'm asking you now to put aside your preconceived concepts or ideas on what sells this product. You got to take a look at what motivates certain people, and it starts with evolutionary psychology, which is the study of how the brain evolved in us as a species. How is it that a miniature simian, okay, who had an opposable thumb, because without it he'd fall out of a tree and get eaten, inherited the earth? And that's us. There's a great book on this subject you ought to read. It's called The Social Conquest of Earth by Edward Wilson. It's a dense read, but you ought to read it. Take a look at where we were millions of years ago and where we are today. And it's mostly because of something called gender differentiation. And we started eating meat, stopped eating vegetables and nuts and fruits that fell on the floor and were rotten anyway. Because when we eat meat, it presents lots of protein, and then we harness fire. I know I'm rambling. But it's amazing what you learn when you read things. So what's the point? Evolutionary psychology tells us how we evolved, how the brain evolved to survive a harsh and unforgiving environment. Harsh and unforgiving. And there's something called gender differentiation. So work with me for 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll put this into something you can make. You can do the right thing with your clients' products. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, generally speaking, how men think, how they're wired. Men are not wired generally to nurture. They're wired to go out and kill something, and bring it home and protect those he brings it home for. So therefore, men generally have a very good coordination of movement. Problem solving. Guys are good problem solvers. They're not multitaskers. Women are multitaskers. They're not, give me a problem, I'll take care of it. Look at this. Spatial memory. They're good at reading maps. They have to be. Aggression, short-term focus. Nothing to the left, nothing to the right. I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. And this is the key to increasing production. Men, generally speaking, have an aversion dismiss or severely minimize risk. This is critical to understand. Men, generally speaking, minimize or eliminate risk when they do these 2 things. I'll show you why in the next slide. Because by definition, hunting and protecting those they hunt for carry an inherent risk of dying and becoming seriously disabled. Anyone hunt here? Any hunters? There we go. That's why you're shaking your head. By the way, my guess is that's you. Yeah, nothing wrong with that's you. That's hunters. I hunt for chicken breasts at the... I understand there's a ranch that breeds chicken breasts, is that right? Just owns chicken, isn't that right? Watch this. This is now for the women of this group. Very important. Stop thinking like a woman when you're talking to guys. It doesn't get you very far. By definition, hunting and protecting those they hunt for carry an inherent risk of dying and becoming seriously disabled. This is critical. This is critical. Jump in if I'm full of it. If men actually measured, worried, run their hands over, drove themselves crazy about the risk of dying and becoming serious, would they go hunting? No. And what happens if you don't go hunting? You're gone. Everything's gone. Now, the women who think like this, yes. But I'm talking about the world of insurance. How you apply this to the world of insurance. So men have the innate ability. Watch this. There it is, right there. Generally speaking, men have the innate ability to separate the risk of an awful event from its consequences. If he deeply believes that he's not going to need care, are there any consequences to anyone? Why are we having this conversation about a product? Leave the information, I'll get back to you. And by the way, he thinks the only reason you brought the risk up was what? To do the boom boom, to sell a product, to cover an event he deeply believes won't happen. Yes, sir?
My father-in-law had a long-term care. And when nobody was looking,
He cancels it, of course.
So when he died, his wife expectancy was, well, when he was
We needed care.
he needed care, his wife was expecting to see it. And it was,
He canceled the policy. By the way, that's the same guy who takes survivor only on his pension, yes or no. It gets so bad that they mandate that the wife sign off on it. They just force it in there anyway. Welcome to guys in the risk. Watch. If they deeply believe that they're not going to need care or die become disabled, if they deeply believe the risk is essentially zero, what are the consequences to their families? Nothing. So therefore, why are we having this conversation? Ladies and gentlemen, this is all basic psychology. No one ever put this together like this, but it makes perfect sense. Now you understand, man, why a guy says to you, I get what happens if I die, I get it. I know what life insurance is, but won't buy it because you are presupposing he thinks he could die. And the answer is, he doesn't. Therefore, leave the material, I'll get back to you. Or they'll buy terms just to get her off his back, just to get her off his back. And it's nowhere close to what he needs. You know what makes a difference? If his best friend just got killed.
Yes.
Now, he's having a bad day, you're going to have a very good day. Because he now measures the consequences. You're presenting risk, and risk doesn't go anywhere. Now you understand why you can't sell it the way you're selling it? It's all risk-based. It's all risk-based. What? Genius? Unbelievable? I thought that's what you were saying. I didn't want to interrupt. Does it make sense to you as a guy? Guys, if I came from this business, you wouldn't have these ideas. You know the most inefficient way to sell I've ever heard? Everyone? 10-3-1. You ever hear the 10-3-1 rule? 10 contacts, 3 appointments, 1 sale. What an inefficient way to sell. Ask yourself who are the other 9. Those are the people you want to talk to. We're going to show you how to do it in a second. Okay, now let's talk to someone who's reasonable, that's women. Women are generally wired to do things very differently, one of which is the nurture. For guys, nurturing is an interesting idea. For women, it's a life vocation. Gathering and interpreting of auditory and visual information. Not one guy in the room knows what the hell that means. But here's how women know what it means. You have a child?
Yes.
Young, old, or 30, look at you. So when the kid's 18 months old, okay, and the kid's crying, what does your husband pray to God will happen? One or two things.
That I get
You get up and the kid stops crying. Now, when women get up and take care of the child, they want to know why the child's crying. See, because it says different things. You want to take a look at the child's skin color of the child's lips, right or wrong. See, that's called gathering and interpreting of auditory and visual information. Watch this one. Reading emotions, that's a no-brainer. Empathy, intuition, bonding. And here's the key to your success. They have a strong aversion to risk, a terrible aversion to risk. From the minute that woman's pregnant, assuming her head's screwed on straight and she's making good decisions, everything focuses on the safety and well-being of that fetus and eventually that child. Period. It's not open to discussion. Now watch. They invest vast amounts of energy in doing so, and by definition, are protective of children at all stages of life. This is manifested in worry. Women worry about everything. If there's nothing to worry about, give her a few minutes, she'll find something to worry about.
Some of the times it's reversed. My husband's a worrier and I worry about finishing.
Yes, I say it generally speaking, because you also, when you're talking to people, you got to find out what role they're assuming in the family as well. But I said, generally speaking, when it comes to life insurance or this product, if someone's going to kill a sale, generally speaking, it's bad. So I want to help you understand that. And by the way, as you'll see, these principles apply to both. Women have an internal prism. Guys don't know that. They have an internal prism that takes a risk, any risk, refracts it into a kaleidoscope of consequences. Everything's a consequence. It's not just, I made the mistake of telling my wife I'll have my 15-year-old start the car. That was a half hour. That was a half hour of backing it up for a squirrel, and going up a one-way street, and just... By the way, still didn't start the car, I just didn't tell her. Why didn't you get permission for? The result is that unlike men who generally separate the risk of an unexpected death, unexpected disability, and unexpected need for care from the consequence of the event, none of these things are going to happen. Watch how women think. Women look at these risks and consequences as one in the same. A risk is a consequence. Talk to me. That make sense to you? A risk is a consequence. They're all joined together. They don't differentiate. So if you don't believe me, gentlemen, you ever take your young kid and throw him up in the air? Ready? This is dedicated to you.
Yes. Yes.
I hear an amen to that one.
Oh, amen. No.
And by the way, for the women in this room, he's doing it on a highway.
Blindfolded, there's no car there yet.
Blindfolded, right? Well, he's got good spatial memory, so he can figure like if the car's coming down, he can figure out get the kid out of the way. Usually. There you go. And by the way, the child's having the best time of his or her life. The best time of his or her life. And it's a bonding experience. There's a bonding there. It's just wonderful. All right, I've got about 10 minutes just to tell you where we are. If you ask a man if he believes he'll ever need extended care, the answer is no. Why? This is a critical part of this presentation. Because if he's a decent guy, men can't see themselves not being available to take care of their families. Married, kids, or something. You can't see not being there. That's how you're wired. You need something to do with your life. By the way, that's how you talk to decent men. That's how you talk to decent guys. You need something to do with your miserable life, didn't you? Look at it. You got a wonderful kid, and you got a wife or home, you know, but you can't see not being there. So all I'm doing with this old bad idea, I'm just threatening you by looking, oh, you're not going to be here. And you think I'm going to hustle product. There's another way to deal with guys, I'm going to show you right now. If you ask a woman, do you think you'll ever need care, almost to a person will say, I hope I don't need care. I hope I don't die. I hope I don't get disabled. Because women live in the world of consequence. Men don't even want to think about it. When you leave the house, your wife will say to you, call me when you get there. You don't call, you get all ticked off. Call me when you get there. My son, get out. Just get out. You don't say to my wife, call me when you get there, because she's going to get there. I'm going to get there. It's not right or wrong, it just is. And here we go. This works in reverse as well. So the question is not just the genetics of it, the wiring. What is the social, what role do they play in the family? And that's very important. So for example, if you have a woman who's a primary earner of income, her likely response would be, I don't really need a lot of life insurance, because perhaps she sees herself always being available to take care of the family. But who wants the life insurance? The husband, because he sees the consequences. See where it's going. I wish I had more time to go into it, but I only have a few minutes left, so. Okay, so let me do this very quickly. If you want to change the terms, the intent of the conversation, understand what motivates decent men. And here we go. A man's sense of purpose, he's a decent man. Always remember that. A man's sense of purpose in life, in many ways, is connected to his ability to take care of others, in this case, his family. Making an unqualified commitment, an absolute commitment to these guys creates great purpose, which brings a sense of pride, well-being, value, and meaning to his life. That purpose is manifested by assuming responsibilities, which reinforces his deepest instincts to provide and to protect. Gentlemen, yes or no? Talk to me. Now, for a woman in this room, imagine talk to your husband like this, let alone a client, and say to this person, look what you've created with your wife. You ought to be proud of yourself. How many times have you said that to the person? Look what you created. Good for you. You ought to be proud of yourself. And here's the key. Anything that threatens his or her family will motivate the client to take action to protect them. And that's what we want to kind of close with. How do you change the intent from one that's full of risk, backed by statistics, to one that tells a guy he's never going to need care? And here we go. It's called consultative engagement. We change the intent of the conversation from risk to consequences. We flush out all risk. There is no risk, only consequences. And by doing so, he doesn't put his defenses up because he doesn't feel you're trying to sell a product. So the client is educated about how an unexpected need for care would so severely compromise him or her, again, him or her, that he's no longer available to protect and provide for those he loves, resulting in serious, if not irreversible, consequences to them. And that's what I suggest you start thinking about when you address decent men. And if the woman who doesn't want life insurance, this works the same. It can be gender neutral, but in the world of insurance, we already agreed that mostly it's going to be guys who don't want the product. Oh, sorry. Once again, I want to finish this up in a few minutes. Okay. So the success of your business has not been based on price but value. I deeply believe that. I deeply believe it. It's not price, because if they're buying the internet, that value is not offering a product, but offering advice to clients on matters that impact those they love. This approach honors that commitment. It's advice-driven. Now, once the clients understand what the consequences are, and they believe they're unacceptable, they ask you as a professional not to sell them a product, but to create a plan. Here's what we just done. He didn't want to talk to you, but you did a wonderful job laying out a set of consequences. He now lets you put together a plan, watch this, to carve at an event he what? Deeply believes what? That's selling. Because what you did is you motivated, you stimulated his conscience. His atavistic, primitive, primal side says, nothing's going to happen to me. Risk is zero. But now you measure this as a set of consequences. Does he still believe nothing's going to happen? Absolutely, that's me. Risk remains zero, but you concentrated on the consequences, and they're 100%. So let's finish up with this thing here. Here's the plan. I'll show you what the product does. The plan's not have nothing to do with him. The plan is to keep him home, keep him safe. Sound familiar? And avoid the awful consequences of keeping him home and keeping him safe. And you do this by having others provide care. Family supervises it. And you do that by having a source of income that preserves the capital, preserves financial commitment. That's all these products do. You're selling to protect him. He doesn't need the product. It's not going to happen to him. By the way, between you and me, who's getting a stroke first? Me or you? Between you and me, who's getting a stroke first? Okay. Ask you one more time and ask you if you do that again. Deep down, who's getting a stroke first? Me or you? You. I'm sorry? That's correct. Now, who do I believe is going to get a stroke first? You. Listen, between the two of us, you don't look that good right now. And women find this horrifying. And a woman can, do you guys really think like that? And the answer is,
Of course.
of course. What's the big deal?
That's what we would do.
Right. But I got to bring you to a different level and bring you back to why I got into business having a family. So here we go. Let's take a look at these products too. Isn't it interesting? We spent about an hour and 10 minutes. I'm only going to spend like 2 or 3 minutes on the product. And then I'll be around this evening if you want to ask some questions and so forth. So, now the client has allowed you to create a plan to protect those he or she loves from unexpected need for care. The question is how it will be funded. And we'll end with this, that the product funds a plan. And I'll show you how it does it. Let me just go through this, bear with me a second. Okay, here we go. The conversation focuses on the key question, who and what is important to you. It's just what you do with financial services, when you're selling insurance. Tell me who is there an insurable interest? Who do you care about? Who do you love deeply? Who are you committed to? Absolutely. See how powerful that thought is? Now watch this. The client tells you who they are, or you remind them. And now what you do is you set out a situation that, if it's not planned for and ever occurred, will bring great harm to those people. It's a consequence sale now. Not a risk, consequence. Step 3. By the way, this is available, Stephen, so you can give it to everyone here. Step 3, the protection is in the form of a plan. The goal of which is to keep the client safe at home while mitigating the two sets of consequences. Since it was the client that asked you to create a plan, you have every right to ask, what will fund it? And that's the key. What will fund this plan, not to protect him, but to preserve others? Asset Care Solutions should be positioned as a funding source for that plan, and here's how it works. They provide a predictable stream of income. That income is not positioned with the client as paying for his or her care. Why do you never tell him it's going to pay for his care?
Doesn't believe you need this.
See, we're going to have to think about that for a second. See, the minute you say this product will pay for your care, which is what you've been doing, no sale.
Yeah.
I want you selling your product to company. Look at me, look at you. Right? Yeah, look at you. Right. And I fall head hair that aggravates me. All right?
Isn't that annoying?
What? It is.
Full head of hair.
Yeah, I think it's a piece, actually. I think this is the last time you've seen the TV. Funds plan. And by doing so, it mitigates the first of two sets of consequences. Here we go. Last two slides. Paying for someone to provide care allows those the client loves to supervise the care. This has a direct and positive impact on others. Does anyone want to take a guess at what percentage of policies have paid out for long-term care, for nursing homes in the last 35 years? What percentage? 20%, 30%? Less than 10%. Over 90% of the payouts are the key people in the community. And by doing so, you can keep them home longer because you take the stress out of providing care. And I'll leave you with this in one more slide. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see now is the single most important bullet in all of insurance when it comes to children. You give your kids a second gift of life. The first gift was to bring these kids into this life. The second gift is it's not your responsibility